Hello, everyone. My name is Jake from Talk Too Much. I'm here to talk about my adventure that I had over at Days of the Dead Con in Mad Monster last weekend. I got a chance to meet a lot of great celebrities, and so if you're ever interested, if you're in the South area, you may have some knowledge about these cons that happen. They're mainly directed towards horror fans like me. And they have a great cast, a great set of celebrities that travel all across the whole country. Some I know for Mad Monster, they go to Arizona. Let's see, I believe Chicago is one, if I'm not mistaken. Don't hold me to that. But also, Concord, North Carolina was one I took a visit to. And so I went there on Sunday just to meet a batch of great people that I'll get to in just a moment. But before then, on Friday and Saturday, I went over to Days of the Dead Con in Atlanta. And let me tell you, if there is a chance to ever go again, I certainly will be there. There were a few pros and cons, so I'll get through it just to kind of keep in mind of what you may be getting into if you ever decide to want to go to these. I'll kind of give you an idea of pricing, just so you know, for all future cons. All these celebrities out there, they all charge for a photo and for an autograph. It's not something where you just pay for the ticket and then the whole entire thing is free. They also offer professional photo options for all cons. Those tend to get on a little bit of a pricier side. I've only really done that once, and I've gone to Mad Monster, I believe, twice. And I've also gone to Days of the Dead. This is my second time going. So, just to give you a brief rundown. So first time I went to Days of the Dead Con, I took my brother-in-law and we went to go meet some people at Hellraiser. They also had David Howard Thornton from Terrifier. At that moment, I didn't really see many of the Terrifier movies. I think I saw the first one. I haven't caught the second one or the third one at that time. And so it was a whole community of people. It was great to see. I was just completely in awe. I thought it was a great event to get everyone together around the Atlanta area. And then I went to Mad Monster Con twice. The first time was in Atlanta. I got to meet Shawnee Smith, which was really cool, from Saw. And then I also got to meet Nick Castle, the OG Michael Myers from the first Halloween movie. That was also really cool. So, and then the second time I went to Mad Monster, I got to meet Corey Taylor, along with Adrienne King, which she was an absolute treat. She's the final girl from Friday the 13th, the first one, if you don't know. And I met a few other people. So, just kind of want to give you a rundown of how my days went. If you ever are interested in this, just so you know, with a lot of these cons, autographs and selfies and those, they tend to start around the $40 to $60 price range, just to give you an idea. So even if you do see about 10 people that you may like on the list for next year, you just might want to be aware that you're looking at spending maybe a minimum of $400. Just that's depending on pricing each. So I can't guarantee that every single one of them is going to be $40, but to give you an idea, the bigger the celebrity is, the more money you're going to end up spending. So try to be careful with that. Don't blow your whole money over this. So let's get right into it. So I got there on Friday, and the first set of great people I got to meet were the director as well as a minor in My Bloody Valentine, the OG in the 1980s. This is one of my favorite movies. I have no complaints about it. It's a Valentine's Day slasher. I like to watch it every year just because it has a special place in my heart. I definitely think it's one of the underrated cuts. I certainly understand people's issues with it. I get that completely, but I don't think it's as bad as people give it credit for. The next person I got to meet on my list was Scout Taylor Compton. She plays Laurie Strode in the Rob Zombie Halloween. She signed my steelbook here. And I'm actually a huge fan of these. I think Rob Zombie, he very much has a certain style. It's not always going to fit for everyone. But I thought the way that she portrayed Laurie Strode was great. It was very, very fun to watch. She gave a lot of emotion to the character that, honestly, I wish I got more out of with later Halloween movies with Jamie Lee Curtis. I thought she was great in the film. She really portrayed the way it should have been, which may be an unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people aren't that big of a fan of these movies, but because it gets a little bit on the supernatural side, understandably so, but this still is a great movie for me. And there are some times where I would even say that I would take Scout Taylor Compton's Laurie Strode over easily any of the Blumhouse Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode's, and that's just because that's a little bit of a mess of a trilogy that they came out with. So but definitely she was a complete joy. I believe she's directing a few movies now. She's kind of expanded her branch. She went from acting and more so went over to the directing side in her spare time. And so I had a great conversation with her. It was the day before her birthday, so I got to give her a little bit of a early happy birthday to her. And she just came out with a movie on the 27th of February called Bring the Law. If you're more into the action side of movies, definitely give it a check out. It's has Danielle Harris in it, who oddly enough is also in these set of movies. And I thought it was pretty interesting. It had some good ideas going for it, so check it out. I believe it's on streaming or VOD right now. The next person I got to meet on my list was one of the big celebrities that was there, and that was the great Eli Roth. They had the whole Cabin Fever set there, which was really cool. That was kind of like the big theme that they went with Days of the Dead in Atlanta. And on Friday, that's apparently when a lot of the celebrities showed up and got off their plane. So to a degree, I did feel kind of bad because I'm sure they were jet lagged. I'm sure they were just kind of like exhausted, but they understand they had to attend the event. So kudos to them. I was really happy about that. I was just grateful. And Eli was such a joy to talk to. He does have a movie coming out later this year it's a remake of Ice Cream Man. So I got to talk to him about that. He has plans to make it unrated. So he said with Terrifier 3, the way it went, he's like, unrated is just going to be the way that I go. It's going to be a blast. And he said it might be one of his goriest films. So that's a real treat. And I did tell him that Death Wish with Bruce Willis is absolutely an underrated gem. So if you are a fan of the Taken movies with Liam Neeson in it and you just want to see something in Bruce Willis's career right before he stopped acting, it is a joy. I have a lot of fun time with it. But of course, my favorite from him is Cabin Fever. It was one of the first horror movies that I grew up before I really dove into the genre. So yeah, definitely. He has started to attend more recently. He said that in the past couple of years, it's just something he's wanted to do. He's wanted to reach out and branch with the fans. So he says that it'll probably be a more regular thing with him. He plans to go to more and more. I know he's going to be busy this year with the release of his movie, and he also has something that he's planning on doing with Snoop Dogg, of all people. So that'll be exciting to see. And yeah, definitely he's going to be a name that's going to be up there for a while, and he's going to stick with the community, stick with the genre. So if you ever get a chance to meet him, he was just an absolute blast. So the last person I got to meet on Friday night was the great Michael Biehn from Terminator. He plays Kyle Reese, and he's also in a whole bunch of other set of films, Alien 2, Tombstone, The Abyss, just to name a few that he has done. And he was great to talk to. I think he was probably the most expensive celebrity I met that night, but of course, he has such a filmography. Obviously, the man is going to take his time. So the only downside is I got to talk to him for maybe 3 minutes. There were people in front of me, and I was trying to reach a Q&A with Felissa Rose. And that was at 7 o'clock, so I was standing in line for 6:30, and I can at least appreciate he takes his time with his fans. He talks to them quite a bit. Unfortunately, there were, I think, 3 people in front of me. 2 of them he talked to for maybe 20 minutes. The guy in front of me talked to him for like a good 5 minutes. And then, I kid you not, right as I gave him the Steelbook and I talked to him, I listened to the podcast, just fooling around with Michael Biehn. And as soon as I gave him the Steelbook and as soon as we finished, like, maybe just 2 minutes of dialogue with each other, the people from the professional ops had to come by and say, hey, can we steal him? Like, his time to do professional photo shoots is now. And he had to sign real quickly. But I got to shake his hand twice, which, I can't complain. It was just a joy to get to see him. So definitely, I think that may be along the big lines of the actors I've probably met. So yeah, that was really cool. And then right after that, I ran over, because I think it was like 6:59 by the time that was all happening. I ran all the way to catch the Q&A panel with Felissa Rose. Which, for those of you who don't know, she is the well, I don't know if you would say the final girl, but she's a main actress that plays in Sleepaway Camp, the original. And if you have not seen that movie, I will not spoil anything for you. If just go into it completely blind, that is the best way to do it. So, and I would say, as for the most grateful and just happy person I could have met there, she by far was one. They, I believe, took some tequila shots right before they did the Q&A, but she just talked about the remake that's happening, and she talked about how careful she wanted to be with it. She wanted to make sure it was handled carefully. She spoke about all the people that were on set and how great it was, and she talked about some spoiler things that I can't really get into because, well, I mean, it has been 40 years, so if you haven't seen it by now, I don't really know what you're doing, but pretty much there's a big reveal at the end, and she went into depth about the reveal and how it did not involve prosthetics. So if you know what that is, what the big reveal is, you might just be like, "Whoa, that's a little disturbing." So yeah, but she was a great, just absolutely great actress to me. She was one of the many highlights of this event. So that's how I ended up my Friday night. I believe the Q&A was about almost a whole hour. So after that point, I left. I had to head back home, and so now I'll get on to my Saturday. So I got to my Saturday at around like 12:30. The event was closing around 8 o'clock. And then they were doing the whole movie and a party at the very end of the night. But of course, I had other things that I gotta get handled, and I couldn't stay for the whole entire party because it was in Atlanta. But first on my list that I got to meet was the great Mary Shelton, which, for those of you that don't know, she plays Judy Hicks in Scream 4 and Scream 5. And she's also in The Sandlot and a few other movies. I believe Death Proof is one of them. Don't hate me for that in the comments, but I believe that's one of her movies. I could be very wrong. Anyways, she was wonderful to talk to. I had an absolute blast with her. I got a photo with her, and a lot of these celebrities I got photos with, so I'll just try and make sure I post them when I come along the video. But she was so nice to talk to, and she definitely agreed, like all of us, she should have been the next Dewey. Don't lie. As much as Scream 5 went, she should have taken over. I think that was the biggest mistake that we had for Scream 6 and Scream 5. So, but she was great to talk to. I had an absolute great time with her. So, yeah. Next up on my list, I knew I could not go to a horror convention and miss out the chance to meet the great Sean Cunningham, who is the director of Friday the 13th, the original, as well as a producer for Jason Goes to Hell and Jason Goes to Space. And so I talked to him about the movie. He was a great man. He was great to talk to. Him and his wife were there, and also she voices in some of the Friday the 13th movies too. But they were both great to talk to. I had an great time talking to him. I mentioned, because the one thing I've heard from Adrian King is that he was such a wonderful director to work with. He made everything possible for the whole cast. They had to do some extreme shoots, getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning. And for those of you that don't know, Friday the 13th is filmed in New Jersey. And at the time, I believe it was like 50 degrees when they filmed the movie, and she had to get in the water with him, and they had only 2 takes for this movie, and Sean was able to get the best one out of them. And it's one of my favorite movies, and I gotta respect the director for what he's doing. He created such an iconic movie, and even though this isn't the one that has Jason in it, it started a legacy that we can't all deny. Even though not all the films are great, it started something big, and something that every Friday the 13th, the number one thing that we think about is, number one, it's Friday, but 2, Jason. I would say without a doubt, especially growing up, I can't tell you how many times I always saw people post a picture of Jason for Friday the 13th when it happened. So yeah, he was cool to meet. Next up on my list, I was on a hunt for this man, and I was absolutely going to make sure that this was a new goal that I try to achieve. For those of you that probably know, if you're a fan of the franchise, I have the Friday the 13th box set right here from Scream Factory. It is an incredible box set, and I have been on a quest to try to get as many of the Jasons to sign as I can. So Jerry Wallace, who plays Jason in part two, he was there. Um, and I asked him about the mask, and he said it was very difficult to breathe. And for those of you that don't know, he does wear a sack the whole time, and so he said that it was pretty difficult to breathe, but he did have a fun time on set. And it was really cool to just talk to him. He's the first Jason, official Jason. So it was just really cool to get to meet him and have him sign this. So hopefully, I plan to get C.J. Graham at some point, Derek Mears, all of the Jasons that I can. The only ones I believe I won't be able to get is Jason from part 3 and part 4, unfortunately. But you're talking about 2 movies out of 12. So I won't complain from there. But yeah, so he was also someone really cool to meet, great to talk to, and yeah. And of course, last but not least, I wasn't just going to attend the Q&A on Friday for Felissa Rose without meeting her. So she was the last person I met on Saturday. She was just so wonderful. Like I said, she is a great spirit to have at these conventions. If you ever have the chance to meet her, please do. And I've never seen someone so happy. We actually end up talking about Free People because my wife is a big Free People girl, and for those of you that don't know, it's a clothing brand, and she talked about that for quite a bit, talked about their sales, which was the last thing I was expecting to talk about with a celebrity, but it was great. And the first time I watched this movie was with my wife, so that was kind of a little special conversation to have with her. So she was the last person I met. After that, it came around to 2 o'clock, which they were doing the Child's Play Q&A. Now, unfortunately, Brad Dourif and Fiona Dourif were supposed to be at this event, but they had to cancel at the very last minute because apparently a new Chucky movie got greenlit, and they were like, we need them right away, immediately. You know? And so it was disappointing that I didn't get to meet them, but I completely understand with scheduling issues, it tends to happen. That is one big thing about the cons you do have to be aware of, is even if you do buy the ticket, which the tickets for Days of the Dead, normally they can do a whole weekend package, they can do VIP, but they can also do individual days, which normally range around $30 to $40. So if anything, you can go just for a day. The busiest day was Saturday, and so when I went for the Q&A, it was almost completely stacked. It had, I believe, Alex Vincent, who played Andy from the original Child's Play, the second Child's Play, and I believe it is Curse of Chucky. And he was great to hear him talk about it, as well as Chris Sarandon, who not only voices or plays a cop in the original Child's Play, but he also plays the voice of Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas, as well as I believe he's in The Princess and the Bride, and of course he's one of the greatest vampires in Fright Night. So hearing both of them talk was great. The Q&A went on for I think only 30 minutes, which was a shock, but they wanted to get back to their tables and still keep on meeting fans because, again, they were the bigger parts of this convention. So it was really cool to be there and hear them talk about everything. So yeah, they were great. And then after that, I walked around the convention for a little bit, went by some of the vendors, which are really cool. They're all pretty much designed for vinyl. There's movies, VHS tapes, a lot of wear, like shirts, wall flags, and some people had like even cool little sculptures there. So I walked around for a little bit. I just wanted to kill some time. Got some food, and then at 3 o'clock I went to the Danielle Harris Q&A, which as I mentioned earlier, she's in Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 from Rob Zombie, but she also plays Jamie in Halloween 4 and Halloween 5. So everybody had questions shooting left and right for her, and she, again, great spirit to have. She answered everyone's questions no matter what the movie was, even I believe Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter is Dead. She talked about how fun it was to play as a little kid and act like an actual kid around the whole set. So it was great hearing from her. And she went on for, like, I believe 45, almost a whole hour. She just wanted to keep all the questions going, and she didn't want to stop. She was having a great time. So yeah, she was a blast, and that was the last thing I attended before I left. And now I'll get on to Sunday. So I took a 4-hour drive with my brother-in-law up to on Sunday to go meet the cast of Hellraiser. All the Cenobites, I believe, Chatter, as well as Butterball, and of course Pinhead himself, Doug Bradley, were there. And one of my favorite final girls, Ashley Lawrence, was there, who plays Kirsty. And so when we got there, we actually snuck in, like, I think 10 minutes after the Q&A started. So everybody was asking questions, and just hearing them all talk, they were having such a good time laughing, especially Simon Bradford, who plays Butterball. He was wonderful to hear from him, and he did a little bit of his creepy voice from the original Hellraiser, which was really cool. He also brought a whole bottle of vodka as a prize. And he said whoever asked the best questions, depending on the audience, would get the bottle of vodka. And I think we went through about 6 or 7 questions. And I think it was the sixth one, which was asking how Doug Bradley like channeled his character, going from I think it was a evil, more of an evil tone into more of like a priest. I can't fully remember the question, but they all were in such great spirit to talk to and hear from them. So the Q&A lasted till about 1 o'clock, my bad. And then after that, they all went back to their tables. And so that's where I'll start from here. First one I got to meet was Nicholas Vince, who plays Chatter in Hellraiser. I had him sign my Hellraiser 2 movie because I kind of had plans for each one of them to sign. And I'll keep going from there as to who signed each one. But he was a blast. I just like all of them, I had to keep asking. The one question that unfortunately didn't get answered in the Q&A was how their families reacted to the movie. Nick said that his parents thought it was silly, or I believe he said his mom thought the movie was very silly. So it was really cool to meet him. Next up on the list, I got to meet the Simon Bradford, and so he was the one that I said during the Q&A he was a blast. He plays Butterball, and the cool thing about this is they all did a little bit of a drawing in a corner of each of their Cenobites, which I thought was fun. He said that his mom turned away at some of the moments where the Cenobites were on screen because she's not really a horror person. But of course, when they went to the premiere, obviously, he wanted her to see it. So he was great to talk to as well. And I got selfies with every single one of them, especially Simon. So that was a real blast. And then next, which was probably the biggest line, and actually I'm going to combine two in this in one, I got to meet Doug Bradley, the OG Pinhead, who is actually, I believe, in 5 of the Hellraisers out of 11 of them. He was so cool to talk to. He had a book out. He had some audio books, and he was great. He talked about how him and his wife went to the movies. And just so you probably don't know, it's a British movie, but everyone except, I believe, Ashley Lawrence was British. That was at least a star. So I had him sign my box set, and then right after that, I had Ashley Lawrence sign my box set. So Ashley was great. She was very nervous, and so I tried to be careful talking to her because for those of you that don't know, she does tend to get a little bit nervous around the fans, and I completely understand that. And she was so respectful. She had a bodyguard there and her husband, and so talking to her was great. She had some paintings out herself, and she also did a bit of a drawing so you could put your name down and your email. And I believe she was doing a drawing for one of her paintings. And she was great. I told her that she was one of my favorite final girls, and she was very nice when it came to the photo. She asked, "Is this okay? Is this okay? Do you want to check your photos, make sure they all came out great?" So she was just wonderful to talk to. And the only thing I wish is that I could have taken longer to talk to her. But yeah. So that's everyone I met last weekend at Days of the Dead and Mad Monster. Definitely, if you have the chance, make sure you go. It's an absolute blast. I had a great time. I probably spent way more money than I should have. But again, it was such a stacked weekend, and meeting all these celebrities was such a fun time, and talking to these vendors. So give it a shot if you can, if you find one near you. I know Days of the Dead does around Indianapolis, Chicago, Arizona, and a few other areas. Same thing with Mad Monster Con. So if you get a chance, definitely try and catch one. I believe I'm going to try and reach some around North Carolina later this summer, and there's a good chance I'll be heading to some in the fall. So I may do some videos over that of some that I met. But definitely, I support the con, support the people doing this. All of them were great. And you may be shocked to meet one of your favorite celebrities in one of your favorite movies. It's may be less expensive than you think. So yeah, other than that, I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you for tuning into this video. If you like what you see here, definitely subscribe, hit the like button. Let me know what more content you want from me. I do have a few videos planned that I'll be coming out with shortly. So yeah, just keep up the support. And thank you for everyone that's tuned into my Scream 7 video. That's the one I did on Friday, where I gave all my thoughts about the new release. So I just wanted to throw this one out here in case you may be like me and these horror cons may just be something new to you that you didn't even know existed. And so if you are a big fan of this genre, you may want to see these people. So yeah, other than that, thank you.